Today's video is going to feature this Ariens 30-inch wide, 21-inch high, 2-stage, self-propel, heated hand grips with the headlight, and most importantly, a Briggs and Stratton 16.50 342cc engine that needs a new starter recoil rope. Now, if you can see, this one had some engine troubles recently, and if you can see, it's kind of frayed out a little bit there and getting to be where it's kind of worn, and you don't want to be out there in the middle of a snowstorm trying to play with this thing when it snaps off and sucks back in there. So before that happens, off season here, we're going to replace this. Pretty easy project. Many brands are similar procedure. Do-it-yourself friendly, I would say on this one, absolutely. It couldn't get easier because Briggs has made most of these recoil housings are one piece. This one actually has a removable recoil assembly. If you didn't want to play with it and you didn't want to put new string on your old one, you could get a whole replacement piece and literally bolt it on. We're not going to do that because we have string and there's no other reason to replace this thing. We got a good spring, it pulls back by itself, everything else is good. So let's just put a new string rope on the one we have right in front of us. Those not familiar with snow machines, the reason they use this kind of handle, the D handle, it's called a mitten grip handle. So in the cold weather, you wear large gloves. It's just much easier to grab than those little T-handled, standard for a lawnmower, without taking your glove off, of course. And it's literally that easy. It falls off in my hand. Now this is what they call a starter drive cup. This has grooves cut in it, grooves formed in it. You just want to make sure that it's on there good and solid, but that big nut is all tight, and that these aren't all wore out, and also that it's not, if this was a machine that was used in grass, you want to make sure it's not all full of grass, and that the things that need to grab that to spin that engine, that they're not all full of grass and debris, and that it can get a good grab on that starter cup. So for those unfamiliar, I'm going to show you how a starter works. This is your handle. I got it facing, this is the engine side. This would be the outside that would normally face you. I've got it flipped around here, and I want to show you how that starter cup gets engaged. When you pull this, those two little plastic pawls, those little plastic pawls that are popping out of those areas there, those are going to grab the inside of that starter cup. When you let go, they pop back in, get out of the way because the engine's now spinning. And just make sure that they're both there, that the springs work freely, that everything operates, that they come in and out freely. If not, you may have to replace this, or at least the guts right here. We're not going to get into that in this video because that's not what this video is about. It's just about restringing one. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you two ways to string it. The way I'm doing it, when you caught it before it broke, and I'm going to show you what to do after it broke and it went brrrr, and it spun inside there. So, being that mine didn't spin, let's not make work for ourselves. So I'm going to count how many revolutions the string is long. That'll give me an idea how to do the one that, if I didn't have the whole piece with me, or if it had broken off already, I will know how much to pre-wind the spring in order to get the handle to snap back in there nice. You don't want it so loose it's hanging out like this, and you don't want it so tight that it's hard to pull. You want to find a good medium where it just grabs it and holds it in there nice for you. It's not flailing around, it's not going to get into any danger. So let's count how many the factory would have put. Let's assume this is a factory cord. So I'm going to start watching this. 1 revolution, 2, 3, 4, exactly 4. So the way you can do this is you can put a screwdriver in between these little fins and the plastic thing, hold it right there, and then we're going to pull our cord out backwards. I'll show you how that's done. So I've got my screwdriver jamming up the thing there, and in my case I can just cut this knot off, pull that old line through, and I'm going to feed my new piece right back in. Much simpler, but that's not how you're usually going to find them. You're usually going to find them when the piece has broken off on there. Right now what I would do is I would feed it right in there, and then there's a little spot here where it comes through the little wheel that it goes on, and you just tie a knot there. But let's pretend like it just spun by itself. So how much more is it going to release to go to the part where it doesn't need any more line? So I'm going to count again revolutions. I'm going to count this. It's at the bottom right now. That's 1 revolution, 2, 3, starting to loosen, starting to get less tight, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little over 8. 8 total revolutions of line you want to wind down there from where it likes to stop, where the spring stops winding. So if it had broken off, you'd be finding it like this with some string still on there. You pull the string out. Then we're going to count 4 revolutions. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where you would start winding your line. But we know we have to add the line now, so it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 turns. Line your thing up here with where the line goes in. Stick a screwdriver to wedge it. Hold it however you want. I just find it easier to use a screwdriver in there than to try any other way that I've found. Now you get your line, and you need to find the right size line. So for example, this says, this happens to be Sten's brand, not a sponsor, premium commercial 16 carrier starter rope. Don't just use any rope, because it does have stretch. This stuff has 0 stretch. This is number 5.5, which is for very large machines. It's at least as big as what was on there, which was probably 4.5. But on a big machine, you usually have enough room to wind the bigger line. So I'm going to try this 5.5 and see if we can get enough on there. I think we can, because it's only 4 wraps. So literally, I'm just going to stick that through there. And what I've done on the end here previously, every time you use this, cut it, heat it up with a like a cigarette lighter or a propane torch or something, and then just kind of mush it, and then it won't unravel on you. So I'm going to try to stick that through there. I'm aiming up through the part that's in the wheel. Not going super easy. So I'm going to try a new cut on this. See how it frays out like that? You'll never get it through there. Heat it up just a little bit, it'll melt. If you're silly like me, you'll do it while it's still hot. And I'm going to say that that's 5.5 is it's going to be a little too big. I'm going to go with the 4.5. Okay, this is probably a little more like what it's supposed to be. This says for chainsaw and large 2-cycle applications, but it's 4.5. And if we look at the size line we have, that's what they were using. So it's going to be enough for our application. Obviously the 5.5 just won't fit through the hole that it's supposed to, so it's wrong. And we'll get the 4.5 to go much easier. There it goes right through. So we'll just put, all they had was 1 knot. No reason to go crazy. Let's just do 1 knot. And what I like to do, just so you're sure that it'll never come apart, harden this by melting it just a little bit with a torch. That way it can never pull through. That's partially melted. Now just let that cool and it'll be hard as a rock. I don't like to do the knot, because if the knot breaks apart from the heat, then you're ruined. But anyway, put that in there, tighten it up, pull our screwdriver out. We can see it was going to wrap 1 time, 2, 3, 4. That's long enough. So I'm going to make this one go a little more than 4 because I just happen to have that piece of line on the. That's what I have left. It should hold it. Mine's like 4 and 4.5. We're going to tie a temporary knot here. And then we're going to put on our handle. Handle comes out. If you can push it through, if you can try to grab it with something, it's all knotted up into there. And they've really got it pushed in there hard. There we go. Pull that all the way through. Put it through your new handle. Now this time you can use a couple knots because I think the hole is bigger on that side for whatever reason. And that's what the factory did, so let's do what they did, huh? Again, I'm going to leave that little tail sticking out. I'm going to heat that until it melts just a little bit. And then we're going to leave it. I'm going to pull that through hard. And actually my knot just came out automatically somehow. And I think that's pretty good. If that doesn't go back up in there, I'm going to cut it a little shorter. Pull it through, cut it a little shorter. But we'll see when it's on the machine how it wants to act. Putting it back on. Now these things can go multiple ways. You can put it there, you can put it there. What you want to watch is what angle does yours need to be pulled at. This one needs to be pulled sideways. Some of them need to be pulled from the other way. So you'd put it, you know, grab coming out the bottom maybe, or you know, you can put this whichever way you want. But put the stickers facing up on this one is the way they had it, and it also makes sense with where you need to pull it from. Bring it back when I get those screws in. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if this thing wants to pop back in. Not bad. Let's give it a, I'm going to pull it through a couple times and to get it to wind how it's going to, you know, be happy. Yeah, see, it's a little lazy, so I'm going to shorten that up just a little bit to get a little more spring pressure there, so maybe that'll go up every time instead of laying out like that. We don't want that. Just as problematic would be if it was too short and that you couldn't even get a full arm pull out of it and it would be coming to the end. That way that knot we put at the very inner part is holding your whole strength of your arm back, and you'll snap the thing real quick. So if you keep snapping them, you may have too short of a piece of line, rope, however you like to call it. So I'm going to just take this thing, pull it out a little bit. Again, temporary knot right here to hold it so it doesn't get sucked back in there and then we have to take it apart again. And I'm going to pull, actually I'm going to go a little farther than that. We're going to pull this out. Got to get you my viewfinder here. Yeah, we're going to make this a little shorter, just like it was from the factory, about the same size as they had it. That way it should have more spring pressure and pull in much nicer every time. And I barely left myself enough. I'm going to risk it, folks. If I let go of that, zoom, we've all done it. Come on. Because you don't know how long, half the time when it's broken off, you don't know how long of a piece you started with. The owner may have broken it in 2 different pieces, retied it a different time. You never know what they've done to it. So a little trial and error here, a little adjustment is going to save you big troubles later when you're out there and you're frustrated with the snow already. And the last thing you need is this thing not acting right. See now how that goes back in with authority and it stays back in? That's what we're looking for. I hereby declare that recoil starter Wildwood certified. Thanks for watching.